was unable to match Venus Williams this time. She hoped to end the best year of her career by winning the US Open title in her hometown, but said she simply ran out of gas in her 6-4, 6-2 defeat. Defending champion Venus denied that she felt under pressure after her sister's win.
More than anything, I wanted to win my match. So I didn't take into account that she had won. I was really happy she had won, for sure. And the way she closed it out was impressive. I think maybe I had a little motivation to close mine out too. But today I wasn't so much into the score. I was more or less like into keeping those points for me. And finally it was finished.
The success of the siblings has set up the final everyone wants to see. Previous meetings have been less than enthralling, with the accusations of outcomes being arranged. But both of the Williams sisters have stated their desire to win the tournament and vehemently denied that the victor has already been decided. Tracy Moore, BBC News.
One of the world's top sprinters, Atto Boldon, has tested positive for a banned substance. The IAAF has announced that Boldon was found to have traces of the stimulant ephedrine in his system at a meeting in May. The former world 200-metre champion will not be suspended, though. The offence is only punishable with a public warning. Now, the eyes of the racing world will be firmly focused on Leopardstown this afternoon for the Irish Champion Stakes. The race features a rematch between dual Derby winner Galileo and the globe-trotting Fantastic Light. The pair met over a mile and a half in the King George at Ascot in July, where Galileo and jockey Michael Kinnan came out on top in one of the races of the season so far.
Under 2 furlongs to travel. Here's Fantastic Light. The battle's on. It's Galileo the far side. Fantastic Light serving it up on the near side from Molinari and then storming home. It's Fantastic Light and Galileo locked together. A furlong left to go. Galileo digging deep the far side. He's got about a head in front. Fantastic Light can't get him. The 3-year-old's going to win it. Galileo triumphant in the King George. He gets up to beat Fantastic Light.
And you can see the Irish Champion Stakes at 4:05 on Grandstand on BBC One this afternoon. Well, that's all from me for now. Glenn Hicks will be back with more sport a little later this afternoon.
Thanks, Dominic. Now, news of that big Conservative leadership contest. And Kenneth Clarke has distanced himself from reports that he'd claimed victory in the race. However, he says he's had a positive reaction from party meetings. The former Chancellor was speaking as he attended a conference of young Tory members in Manchester. It's the last time Mr. Clarke and his rival Ian Duncan Smith have appeared together before the ballot closes on Tuesday. Joining me now from the conference for young Conservative members is our political correspondent Sean Curran in a sunny Manchester. Sean.
Exactly. Here's some hot news. It's actually not raining in Manchester. Been an interesting morning. This has been a long, drawn-out, sometimes rather bitter campaign. And yet today, when both Kenneth Clarke and Ian Duncan Smith came to talk to about 150 members of Conservative Future, that's the Tory party's youth wing for people under 30, it was actually quite a good-natured and good-humoured affair. Both of them got a good hearing, lots of applause after both of them had spoken. Interestingly, Kenneth Clarke, although he's very confident, was stressing that he didn't know who had won and was insisting that he was not claiming victory. Ian Duncan Smith, also confident, also refusing to speculate. Well, perhaps a couple of people who might speculate joining us now. 2 students, both with connections to York University. Richard Price, who's a Kenneth Clarke supporter, and Stuart Lennon, who's just become an Ian Duncan Smith supporter after hearing him speak this afternoon. Interestingly, though, gentlemen, you both supported Michael Portillo. Richard Price, having been a Michael Portillo supporter to start off with, what persuaded you that Ken Clarke was the best choice?
Well, I think Ken's got some of the same qualities that Michael has and has some of the same desires for the party that Michael has. He wants to see us relating to the public again. He wants to see us becoming more to the centre and sort of recapturing that link with the people. And so Ken seemed to me the candidate to vote for on that basis.
Stuart Lennon, you said you were undecided until today. In fact, you haven't actually cast your vote yet, have you?
No, I haven't voted yet, but I will be now, yeah.
So what did Ian Duncan Smith say today that's made you decide at this 11th hour that you're going to cast your vote for him?
He said a lot of encouraging things, but I think it was more actually the style which impressed me. From how I'd seen him on the television, that sort of thing, I wasn't sure what I'd think about him, but he spoke in a very enthusiastic way, much more exciting than I expected, actually quite charismatic. And he spoke about how we have to engage with what it is to be conservative, which is to believe in choice and opportunity. And when he spoke about those things, he spoke with a real passion that actually inspired me and made me feel good to be a conservative. And I thought that that's the type of leader any party should have. So I feel confident that he'll make a good leader.
There have been all sorts of arguments during the course of this campaign. One of the big arguments, of course, has been about Europe. Was that an issue that people in the hall today, the younger members of the Conservative Party, were concerned about?
I don't think it's a main concern at all, no. I think obviously it does. It's one issue of many which people are interested in and people care about. I personally don't believe we should join the single currency, and I think I share that with most people actually. But no, I think that there's a lot more issues. I mean, personally, I think, for instance, we need to look at the licensing laws, get those extended. If you look over at Europe, then the licensing laws are different. And try and liberalise things generally. Look at repealing Section 28, legalising cannabis, all those sorts of policies about freedom for the individual. I think that's the sort of direction that Michael Portillo would have gone in, and I hope that Duncan Smith will do the same.
Richard, what is the appeal for younger members of Kenneth Clarke? Because you're a supporter of Michael Portillo. The fact is, Kenneth Clarke's made no secret of trying to pretend neither Kenneth Clarke nor Ian Duncan Smith are really as socially liberal as Michael Portillo. So Kenneth Clarke wouldn't seem to many people to be a natural choice for younger Conservatives.
That's true, yes. But I think he is socially liberal on some issues. That he was asked today about smoking and his links with British American tobacco. He believes in freedom and choice of people to carry out those such activities. And although he's not a figurehead for libertarianism, he certainly is imbued with many libertarian ideas and values.
In the past, if senior Conservatives had come to a meeting of the younger members, they'd be given quite a rough ride on just about every single issue. Obviously, Kenneth Clarke's big issue has been Europe. What was the reaction to him?
Well, there were some questions pointed about Europe, but I think members of the youth movement within Conservative Party want to get away from Europe. We've talked too much about Europe, and and Kenneth has support of many Eurosceptics, and I don't think I haven't found that to be a massive stumbling block to supporting Kenneth Clarke. I think we're not, as a party, so hung up on Europe as perhaps sometimes the media portray us to be.
Richard Price, Stuart Lennon, thank you very much. Both of the candidates have actually now left Manchester. We'll be together until we actually get the result on Wednesday. The closing date for the postal ballots, people like Stuart haven't voted, is noon on Tuesday, and we expect the result at tea time on Wednesday.
That was Sean Curran reporting from Manchester. After the break, we'll have more news and the Archers' 50th anniversary. You're watching BBC News 24.
70% of our planet is covered by water, yet we know little about the seas around us. Now a new series takes you further out and deeper down to show you things that have never been seen before. The Blue Planet starts Wednesday at 9 on BBC One. Until now, we've only touched the surface.
The headlines now at just gone 1:45. The former head of MI5, Dame Stella Remington, who's about to release her memoirs, has called for a major overhaul of the Official Secrets Act. Another ship carrying suspected illegal immigrants has been intercepted by a troop ship on its way to Australia's northern coast. And delegates have reached an agreement on slavery at the UN Conference on Racism in Durban, but are stuck over the Middle East issue. Colombia has extradited a former leading member of the Medellin drugs cartel, Fabio Ochoa, to the United States. He was handed over to officials of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency in the capital, Bogota, and has been flown to the States to face charges.
Fabio Ochoa had delayed making this journey for over 2 years, using every weapon in his lawyer's arsenal to prevent his extradition to the United States. But he's exhausted all the legal appeals and been sent northward to face charges that he was part of a ring that smuggled over 30 tons of cocaine worth almost $1 billion to the US every month. Mr. Ochoa was one of the key figures in the Medellin drug cartel when the organization was one of the most powerful crime syndicates in the world. And he was part of the war against extradition that Pablo Escobar, the head of the Medellin cartel, declared on the Colombian state, with the motto, "Better a grave in Colombia than a cell in the United States." Mr. Ochoa dodged American justice in the early 1990s when he pleaded guilty in Colombia to some minor drug smuggling charges in exchange for not being extradited to the US. As it was, he served 5 years in prison and promised not to get involved in the drugs trade again. But it seems he couldn't resist the lure of the world's most lucrative business and was arrested in 1999 during Operation Millennium, a joint US-Colombian sweep of drug traffickers. And now, more than a decade after the DEA first wanted to extradite him, Fabio Ochoa will stand trial in Florida, and if convicted, could spend the rest of his life in that US cell he's fought so hard to avoid. Jeremy McDermott, BBC News, Medellin.
The FBI is questioning 13 police officers about allegations of corruption. The arrests were made as part of an ongoing investigation into the Miami Police Department. The U.S. Justice Department has also been called in to look at how law and order in the city is enforced.
The early morning arrests at the homes of the officers follows a year-long investigation into allegations of corruption and a number of high-profile shootings of suspects in the city over the past 5 years. In one, a 73-year-old man was shot and killed after officers fired hundreds of rounds at him when they went to his house to serve a warrant. They claimed he fired first, but his family have always maintained he didn't own a gun, and the one found next to his body must have been planted.
Officers sworn to uphold the law, engaging in the most despicable of conduct, lying, planting guns, stealing property, obstructing justice, and then attempting to cover it all up.
Speaking at a news conference, the chief of the Miami Police Department, Raul Martinez, said that these arrests were part of his campaign to root out all corrupt cops.
That's why we feel very confident to ask the Justice Department, come in, take a look, tell us where our policies fall short.
Many campaign and civil rights groups in the city have welcomed today's arrests. For many years, they'd complained that allegations of corruption were not being properly investigated. They now hope the FBI's involvement will at least begin to tackle the problem.
Well, more now on the former MI5 boss's call for radical reform of the Official Secrets Act. Dame Stella Remington wants the law changed to make it easier for members of the intelligence services to write about their work. She says there should be also an independent system to vet publications by the man who investigated the breakdown of the secrecy of MI5 9 years ago, the former Home Affairs Select Committee Chairman, Sir Ivan Lawrence. Welcome, Sir Ivan. So, what do you think? The blanket ban should be lifted on memoirs for former members of the intelligence services?
No, I don't. And I think that if Dame Stella criticises the zealousness of the Home Secret Service, then it's better to be overzealous rather than underzealous, because at the end of the day, the security of the state and the people who live.
But surely, as a former head of MI5, she knows full well the risks involved, and she wouldn't want to advocate something that would put the security services at risk.
It's difficult to know what she thinks now, because when she was the head of the Secret Service, she wouldn't have allowed anybody to have produced a book called Open Secret, in which he or she talked about the activities of the Secret Service. She would have spent most of her time trying to stop people from talking about the Secret Service and what goes on there, because there isn't much point in having a Secret Service that isn't secret. So I'm not sure what she's thinking.
But don't we have a culture of secrecy? A lot of people always say this about this country. There's a culture of secrecy. We need to, lift a few more stones, let the air in.
Absolutely, and of course successive governments have been doing this. But there is, the end of secrecy must be the Secret Service. That's what it is, to preserve the important secrets of the country, which are necessary for the security of the state and the safety of its people. And it's the Secret Service that must remain secret. Other services don't have to remain secret.
So are you against this Remington book?
Well, I just find it frankly astonishing that somebody who was the head of the Secret Service and who would have told people continually that they mustn't talk about it should